I think the minute I stepped on a practice field for rugby, the calling happened.
An 8-year plan to be on the team. And I was in it within 2 years.
Don't wait until you are a pro to be a pro. Right.
And I walk around with a rugby ball sometimes and they're like, what is this child on?
It looked like it was a heavy hit.
It's up, it's not the option.
You know, that's the first time I played like professional.
I'm making rugby money. How can I make money outside of it?
And there's two Scottish guys, and they said, "Oh, you're here for the movie."
That rugby is a game for all shapes and sizes, all cultural aspects.
He looked at me and he says, "You guys are awesome."
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another great episode of Rugby Swag. My name is GiftTime, and this is the show where we speak to people about the opportunities they found, created, or taken advantage of, on top of the news that is happening. I know. It has been a long time. It's been almost 5 months since we've had a chance to talk, but you know what? The rugby season is back. We're talking about 15. We had a crazy summer, winter for me, because I live in Brazil. But you know, we had club rugby, we had rugby sevens, college rugby. We had everything happening, but you know what? We're back, and of course, we're coming back on the most important date for rugby in rugby lifetimes, the Rugby World Cup, which technically starts, if you guys are listening to this today, would start tomorrow, but really you're most likely listening to this on Friday, so it starts later on today. So depending on when you're listening to it, you know, you're catching it in. I don't know if you can see this. If you can't, you know, I got my Rugby World Cup picks already ready to go, coming out of the group stage. We got, let me look at this over here just in case, New Zealand, France, South Africa, Ireland out of Group B. I got upsetters, Wales and Fiji out of Group C. And my biggest upset out of Group D, Argentina and Samoa. All right, look, whenever these guys are now being able to go back to their countries and being able to play in the way that they're supposed to, games are going to be different this time. But we're not going to talk Rugby World Cup on this one because I'm going to have a little bit of a special show for that on Tuesday when we're back with just regular news. But what we're going to try and do this year is going to be tough because there's a lot happening simultaneously, is we're going to try and make Tuesdays news and information podcasts. So basically kind of update what's going on and kind of keep everybody on track. And then on Thursdays, it'll be interview days. So there might be some Thursdays that there won't be a show, but we should be trying to get something just about every single Tuesday, give or take. So gonna work my hardest to make sure we got this going on, but I'm excited to be back. I'm excited for the Rugby World Cup, but mostly, I'm excited for this interview that we got coming in. Look, this is the second time he's been on the show. It had been a while. We actually did this a while ago, but we're just getting to it because it's now most prevalent. We got Dr. Freddi Henry-Ajudua on the show. Man, you know, you guys know him from Rugby ATL, now moved over to California. This man has been a Club Sevens runner-up. He's been a champion. This man is known for his absolute beastness on the field, but most importantly for me, he is one of the leads for the Nigerian Rugby National Team, which they have their Olympic qualifiers in Zimbabwe coming up in 2 weeks, coming up September 16th and 17th. So it's really important that we get this out because it is so crucial to what happens moving into the Olympics. Of course, we're in Rugby 15, Rugby World Cup time, but hey, man, look, this is when you get the inside scoop. This man has been a Life University grad. He is a doctor of chiropractic, and man, we got some information. This is a great talk, great discussion. Great to see him again. And of course, you guys are going to enjoy this. Please don't forget, if you're getting this, go ahead and subscribe in on YouTube at GiftTime Rugby. Or you can just go ahead and follow us on the podcast here. You see this, whether it's on wherever you saw it promoted first. If you already subscribed on, please tell your friends about it, all right? We want to bring it back. This is our pleasure, our special flavor of rugby, but most importantly, being able to keep you guys informed about what's going on the low when everybody's talking about what's going on above. All right, so in the meantime, let's get it started. Dr. Freddi Henry-Ajudua. Check it out. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another great episode, Rugby Swag. And of course, y'all got to realize we got a returning guest. It's been 3 years, 2 years, 2021, 2020. We were pandemic times. Times. All right. We're talking about a man who was about to lead a country that decided to all of a sudden throw its whole governing body and throw off its whole Olympic bid in one fell swoop. All right. The man came from doing Life University. Now that man is a two-time American Rugby Premiership champion. That man is a Rugby ATL runner-up. He also made it to the championship runner-up as well too, and officially can finally say he is a member of the Nigerian Rugby Football Federation and an Olympic potential going through. I'm talking about the Dr. Freddi Henry-Ajudua. My brother, welcome back onto the show.
Thank you.
Man, it has been some time. Yo, it is so much has changed for all of us in these last 3 years. But, even for you specifically, we've got layers to this mess. I know Nigeria is where the biggest focus is right now, but let's do a little bit of catch up on the full thing if we can.
Okay.
All right, man. First and foremost, man, last time we left off, man, you had just stepped out from MLR and you were finding your own way, going through with tour camps. But now you are back with Rugby ATL. You've been there for 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
2 years. What happened? How's that been? How's it been being back in MLR?
So basically, I took a step down because I felt like I was not ready for that competition. I mean, I recently just started playing rugby 4 years ago. So, I mean, playing 1 year and going to play professional rugby is insane, Right. So I needed to actually get my experience, play under Coach Blake Bradford, learn a lot about the game. And after I did that, the game slowed down so much that it was just a given for me to get picked up by Rugby ATL.
Nah, it makes sense. You played with a number of teams, namely one of the ones that stand out, Hartford Harpooners, my guy, Mark Diaz, one of your coaches. What was some of the effects of being able to play for these touring squads over the last few years, helping your development?
Honestly, like with me, I just want to play rugby. Any rugby I can, I just wanted to play because I felt like I had a lot of years to catch up to other guys that's been playing for so long. So Mark Diaz played a huge role in my development because he always gave me great opportunities to actually go out there and just ball without, telling me what to do. He just tell me, Fred, just be you, express yourself. I mean, that's the best environment that I feel like I could actually, learn and replicate all the things that I want to do in the rugby field. Marcus Satava also gave me a chance to play at Freetail Sevens, I think. That's the only time I actually put on the Harpooners jersey. And we ended up winning that tournament too because we had a really strong side. So these experiences have been so great for my career so far. Like, I feel like it's what has made me who I am. And I think I'm only going to keep getting better and keep, learning the game because the older you get in this game, the better you are because you get really smart.
That IQ goes up differently, and it just makes the game not just easier, but it lets you be able to save your body better because you're able to now understand what you need to do to be able to transition as opposed to, we're pounding the rock constantly.
Yeah.
Obviously you've gained over this time the name Dr. Boom as well too. How has that been kind of seeing your star slowly rise more and more within this element and now more people wanting to bring you in as opposed to just kind of like the football guy that became rugby and now actually being the rugby guy who is now excelling?
So the 3 years really played a big role. I mean, when I first started, I was looked at a very physical football player. He carries the ball hard. But now I could pass. I could pass.
That's a big one right there.
That's a big one. I could pass. I could kick. I could everything you could do in the rugby field, I could do. So, I'm considered as a rugby player now. I understand. People still think some coaches might still have their reservations about me as a player, but put me on the field, I'm always stand out. It is what it is. Yeah.
No, man, I love that. Now, you return back to Rugby ATL. Now, I have to say, You know, Atlanta is not my favorite place in the world. You know,
Why?
As a Louisiana person, I truly consider them the copycat to the original New Orleans. You know?
Yeah. You could say that.
My slander has been great for Atlanta, but it is a healthy respect. It's a respectable hatred as opposed to a personal one. So,
Yeah.
you know, doing it as you guys consistently keep pushing up on my New Orleans gold. You know, how's it been now being in the MLR and kind of with the guys that you've been working with? Because ATL, when you came in, you had a really secure coach, you know, really legend in the game who's now working with the USA Rugby men's and developing that program. And now you guys have kind of had a shift over and you guys are kind of transitioning into a new position. For you, like, how's this MLR experience been now?
The experience has been great. I mean, you get to travel, you get to play like competition, play against guys that have been playing for 14 years. And it's just like every day you fighting for positions, fighting for game time on the field or training. And the environment is just very good because each person is getting you better.
Right.
Because, I mean, you know how sometimes you're in an environment where you're better than everybody else?
Yeah.
This is not the issue. It's like, this man is good, this man is good, that man is good. You get to learn from each and every one, not even just the forwards, because I'm a forward.
Right.
Not even just the forwards, you learn from the backs, too, because backs will tell you, this the line you need to run right here beside me. It's just so much that goes on in the MLR system that a lot of people from the outside in don't see.
Yo, you playing off the flank now, right?
Yeah, I was weak side flanker.
So what was that transition from being? Because primarily you came in as basically as a center wing early on,
and then I was a lock.
You were always as lock. Okay, I thought you had been positioned as center wing. So even now, moving from lock going out to the flanker, yo, how's that transition been? Because that's just a much freer element, but the responsibilities kind of extend themselves because you have that freedom.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, it was not too hard because my last ARP season I played what they call a flanker.
Right.
So it helped me get prepared for the MLR season. I mean, I think that was probably the best season I've had so far when it comes to rugby. So coming to the MLR, it wasn't too hard of a transition because I was already doing everything, and we had the same coach too. So it was just more like, just go do what you do, Fred. Make big hits, chase down the ball, carry hard, jump in the lineouts, you know, just the regular forward stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so it wasn't too hard at all. The only thing I'll say though is the fitness is a little different from club rugby.
It's like, oh wait, we got to keep running. It is not that when I can just coast.
Yeah, the fitness is a little different from club rugby and pro rugby, but I mean, after you train for like 2 to 4 weeks, you get used to it.
It kicks in. It kicks in. Dude, what has it been, especially, let's kind of compare it even to your football career. You know, obviously you went from NCC, and I remember you talked about you literally just came on initially to just do kicking. They put you in at linebacker. You started doing your stuff. Then obviously we know about the Jacksonville Jaguars, but that was always a process and a transition. Yeah. Now that you've shifted over to rugby, comparing those two processes, like, do they feel similar to you, or has it been like a different kind of jump whenever you had to do football to rugby versus soccer to football?
Honestly, I would say that the jump from football to rugby was tough. It was a tough transition. I would say that because as a football player, we work different muscle groups, different engine systems. Like with rugby, it's like I had to change my whole being to be able to keep up with these guys just because I was fast. I mean, that you can't take from me. A lot of football players are fast.
Facts.
A lot of football players are physical.
Right.
But when it comes to continuity, be able to do that sprint over and over and over and over again, that was the difference right there. I struggled my first 2 years playing rugby, but I feel like if you keep to it, a lot of football players tend to quit.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they cannot really break through. But if you keep through it, you usually break through. The body is made to change. Like, that's just, we are made to adapt to our environments. And it's just what it is. It's not really been, after that, it's just been okay. Soccer to football was easy because I did more running in soccer than I had to do less running in football. Like, football, I felt like I could have played 2 different positions, offensive, but they didn't let me.
They're like, sir, we are trying to make sure we get our scholarships all filled up correctly. All right, please stop taking it away from other players.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, but they didn't let me. But now that I'm playing rugby, where I get to score try and hit people, best of both worlds, man.
Man, that's what's up. You know, I love that because of the fact that, you know, I've always consistently said the theory that, not to say that it's wrong, but the theory that one must absolutely start playing rugby at like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old to be able to be functional within rugby at a later time. I think it's always been a bit of a false nomer, only because of the fact that in sport, athleticism and intellect can be transferable. And like you said, your body's built to evolve, you know, accordingly. Mind you, there's like habits and shifts that you gain early on that makes it make sense. But I think it's also really dangerous to always put a kid into one sport for the rest of their life without being able to introduce them into other pieces where those skills can be transferable.
That's true. I started with track. So, I mean, that was the foundation of my just everything. I used to run the 100, 4x1, 4x2. I did long jump sometimes, high jump, did shot put. So I did all of that.
Built all that speed. It was like initially building that speed early, and then you're just building now the functional tools that go along with it as you keep going from sport to sport.
Yeah.
That makes the most sense. Dude, as you've now become an official Life University graduate, doctor of physical therapy, you know, has the knowledge that you've taken from that process, have you been able to find ways to directly input it into your development now with MLR and your rugby development?
I'm a doctor of chiropractic, not physical.
Doctor of chiropractic. I apologize.
I apologize.
It's okay. My bad to all.
It's okay. But yeah, I mean, everything I feel like is discipline. If you could cultivate a habit of discipline, I feel like you'll be able to accomplish anything. Everybody asks me, how were you able to play at such a high level in chiropractic school and still graduate? It's discipline and focus on the things that you really want. Once you're able to just circle out what you really want in life and you put your mind into it and you pray every day, there's nothing that you can accomplish. So it's been able to help me with my MLR career in a way where I wake up early in the morning.
Right.
I'm in the gym before everybody else. I've been built. I'm always working when everybody's sleeping. That's another one. So it's just what has helped me be able to keep up with this MLR player so far.
Have you been able to maintain your own rest? Because I know we always got a little bit of that hustle, especially because we're Nigerians. We always have that hustle culture inside of us. We got to push. And sometimes our rest can be the sacrificial lamb to our ambition and success. How have you been able to find ways? And again, being in DC school, I know that rest gets even that much more emphasized as a requirement for recovery. So how have you been able to find ways to be able to still fill the time and be productive while also maintaining your ability to recover?
I have a bedtime. I have a bedtime. I go to sleep late at 10 o'clock. You call me or text me by that time, you're not getting a response. So it's just what it is. I mean, it just depends. Sometimes if I'm taking exams, then maybe I'll stay up a little later. But on a regular day, like throughout the season, I went to sleep at like 9, 10 o'clock. So I feel my body be able to recover because it was a long season, 22 weeks.
Dude, that is a grind. No matter what anybody says, that is a grind, and especially whenever you only had like 1, maybe 2 off weeks in that entire time. That's a wild to be able to, and you're doing that in Atlanta humidity.
Some days practices are really hard, man. When it's burning and the turf is burning under you, you know you're in Atlanta.
Yo. This is where you go like, okay, guys, let's go do some business up in Toronto. It's cooler up there. Yo, we got this. This should be nothing game at this point, yo.
For real. Yeah.
Oh, bro, I love it. Like, and you know, that's what I was saying. Like, over this process, and obviously we follow each other on IG. And man, I always appreciate you seeing stories and always like watching your progress over time. You know. How has it been even with the family in Nigeria, with Nigeria, your dad and your brothers and everything like that? Like their progress of now watching you into this next phase, because last time we talked, we're early on. You're coming off from the pro tryouts and dealing with your agents and stuff like that and just transitioning over here. now that you've gotten a solid 4 years, 5 years under your belt now, what has that been for your family and their now expectations of your performance?
So, with my family, they really thought that rugby was leisure for me at first.
Really?
Yeah, you know how African families are, man. They thought rugby was just a leisure sport. It wasn't really like a important sport. Even now that I'm playing with MLR, just because of how much I get paid, they really don't. They don't really look at it as a professional sport. You know, they're always like, when you gonna start working as a doctor? We need you to start working as a doctor so you can make some money. But now that I've really like went and played for Nigeria, had a nice outing, because this is my third interview today, believe it or not. Yeah,
I know. Look, man, you're doing the PR story. Honestly, you are doing the thing that I have always said that everybody in rugby needs to be doing more. It's can you talk? Can you talk? Can you talk? Because you need to be able to see your presence on multiple places on the platform, because that's how people start to actually connect to the game and not the game back to the person. It is. We know sports. Sports has always been, I like a player. That player played for either my favorite team or that team becomes my favorite because of that player. And I dive in because I want to follow that person more and more.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been big. My dad and my mom, they've been really proud of me so far because, I mean, I always wanted to play in some type of form for Nigeria. That's always been my goal since I was 5.
Yeah.
So when this happened, I mean, I was on that plane in Mauritius and tears was coming down my eyes just because it's like, yo, I'm really doing this. This is something that I've been talking about for years and years. And if you know any of my really close friends, they'll tell you. And now they happened. It's like, God is real. God is good. God is real and God is good. That's what I was saying, man.
Man, that is truth. I wanted to hit on this because I think sometimes, we whenever it comes to dealing with our faith, it's very easy to get like in this weird middle ground because we hear so many people talk faith and do levels of hypocrisy that seem to counterintuitive to the faith, while simultaneously wanting to be able to present it and be a great example of what it is to be of our faith. For you, because of this process, and I'm going to start talking about the Nigeria stuff because that's where it really got chaotic. How has your faith been affected by this process since you've been doing this? Because again, a lot has happened over these last few years.
Yeah, I mean, my faith has been, especially the first time when I left the MLR team.
Yeah,
it was a tough time, but I feel like it was something that needed to happen. I prayed. I mean, I'm never God to ask God why about, certain questions about, especially about life. I just let it roll over. But that right there made me realize that without God, you're nothing, And there's 2 years where I did some unreal stuff, man. Like, especially with life, unreal. Then coming to play for the ATL side, playing the most games I ever played in a MLR season. It's been really emotional for me, and I feel like God has been on my side the whole time. Even when I feel like He was not there, He was there. So I don't think my faith was really affected much when it came to the things that were supposed to happen because I always believed that it was gonna happen.
Right.
So yeah.
But it was like, I know for me, I have these moments where, stuff just goes down, and it's not a factor that the faith maybe even gets negated, but you're just like, when does this happen? I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I just don't see it exactly through all these walls that keep coming up in my way. And so whenever you get out, when I've gotten out of these moments, even more recently, start seeing the moments and you're just like, all right, this is another reminder. And sometimes it's just like the constant reminder. And it's like, let me dive deeper into this element here. Let me dive deeper into my relationship with God, with Christ, to be able to, remember and not keep forgetting that there is a plan along. I'm just here to traverse the journey, but there is a pathway that's been presented to me.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it was times where I had to, go indoors, lock the doors 2-3 days, no food, no water, just pray. A lot of people don't understand that those type of sacrifices have to be made to actually for you to accomplish the things that you need to accomplish. Stuff that me and my dad, and my mom does. Like at the end of every year before the new year comes around, we'll go indoors 3 days, no water, no food, and just pray.
Word. No, man, that's legit. So, I love that. So let's transition into what happened with Nigeria. All right. We entered in this is 2021. We were getting ready for qualifiers to go into Rugby Afrique, start doing the qualifiers. And within, within a week of whenever the qualifiers were about to happen, the announcement gets made. Nigeria has been suspended from World Rugby and no longer is considered having a governing body and is no longer eligible for the qualifiers for the Olympics for 2020, 2021, technically 2021. For you had been building up, and they've been building up the silo almost around you as a feature person to be part of this. For you in that moment, what happened for you? What was your reaction whenever you heard the news?
So I heard it before the news came out. And
wow.
Yeah. Because me and the general manager like this, we're really cool. So Mr. Aziz Oladipo, that's my man. So he called me, he told me like, look, so they had an old president.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up not doing well and messing up the whole rugby was basically the last sport that Nigeria was gonna pick up to sponsor and even when we got money, they never used the money for rugby. You know how it goes with the corruption. So that happened. The guy got fired, left office. We took the L by getting suspended. Stayed down, talked to Aziz almost every day. Every day we spoke. He's like, yeah, man, we working really hard to get the suspension lifted, but we got a lot of things that we need to work on before then. And I was just like, so what we need? And he was just like, we're probably going to need a new coach, a new president. So he did all the work. Honestly, he's been great for Nigerian rugby. He ended up getting a new election. We got a better president in there now that actually cares about rugby.
Yep.
We got Stephen Lewis as our coach, the lizard, the legend.
Wild.
They're just crazy. So it was when Stephen Lewis got appointed, I was just like, let's go.
You're right.
Let's go.
Right.
This is what we've been needing. And then they announced the squad for Mauritius. And I didn't know any of these kids, honestly. I probably knew maybe one or two of them because I knew Declan, the top try scorer for the tournament.
Yep.
And I knew the other kid that played 10, the playmaker. I'm sorry, Alex. Yeah, I know him too. Me and him, we've been talking just like in 2021 when everything was supposed to happen. I was excited
up for it.
I was excited to meet them, but it didn't happen. And then when this whole thing happened, Stephen Lewis is calling my coach every day, like, you got to release, because it was a thing, because now I'm an international player in MLR.
Right.
So he was calling every day, yo, we need Fred to come play. We need him. So every day the coach come to me and be like,
of course, Steven knows he's got the eye for talent. He's been doing it with Jamaica, done with so many people.
Yeah.
Most notorious with rugby New York, but still, yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, the coach came to me here and my other coach, Steve, he came to me and he was like, so I'm going to release you to go play for Nigeria. But just know that it's going to make you an international player. And it doesn't guarantee you're going to have a contract with us next year. But I think that you should go out there and represent your country. And I was like, appreciate you. I was happy. Once I said that, they bought my ticket the same day. Yeah, man, it was crazy. So then I was, my mind, I was excited for Mauritius. I mean, the season for ATL didn't go too well this year. Because, it's a rebuilding year, of everything, system.
And literally everything. You guys are, the whole organization is building from the bottom up again.
Yeah, we've got new colors, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to pretend that I haven't made that the butt of so many of my jokes. Again, respectable hatred. It's respectable hatred.
Yeah. Yeah, but and then we flew out to we had training camp in London for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the first one to arrive to the field, so I was just playing around with the ball. I didn't meet any of the players yet, and then slowly the players started trickling in because they
they're from London area. I know there was it was basically, what was it? 9 London, 1 US, and 2 from Nigeria itself.
Yep. So they started trickling in, and I just started seeing the caliber of guys that were coming in. I was just like, okay, this might be a good team, legit team. So training started. We started passing the ball around because this when if somebody's really good at playing, and everybody was spot on. It was just it was like an instant click, if you get what I mean. It was not so you have to do this and you have to do that. Stephen Lewis didn't have to do none of that. He just told us, your players, play at your best, and make Nigeria proud.
So let me ask this. You talked about this a little bit before with getting the MLR stuff. But now you've started to feel, have you started to feel where you're I can just play my position as opposed to trying to look out for everybody else's and just adjust to that?
So I feel like it depends on the team I'm playing on. If I'm playing on a team where I'm one of the best players, then yeah. But in this team, I just had to do my job. It was not I have to go run 70 meters and score a try. That's not my job. I'm not a winger. I play prop in 7. So my job is to run hard lines. If you break, you break. You make your tackles, scrum, and win lineouts. That's my job. So I didn't have to do the extra stuff. So that was when I knew that we had something special in the group of guys that we took. So we went down there, trained we had 2 trainings, one on Monday, I think 2 on Tuesday. We had one in the morning and then we had one in the evening. We had a little scrimmage against another team that came in to just check our skills, and everything was looking sharp, everything was looking clean. So we fly out to Mauritius, had a little team bonding, went for dinner at the patio in England. That's a really nice spot. She really treated us nice. We ate really good before we got on the flight. So we flew in, got to Mauritius. So the whole thing, this was we didn't know that was going to happen. The tournament was the Nigerian government didn't know it was going to happen because we didn't know if we were going to get the funding, how things happen. So we come out there with the kit that we have. Everybody was not matching kit, but we had kit.
You had something. You had something. There's a representation somewhere.
Yeah. We had something. So we arrived and all these teams are coming in, Ivory Coast, Ghana, everybody was fresh. We matching kit looking, nice and spot on. And you could just tell them looking at us
Let me ask this because I've constantly said that, Rugby Afrique has been a very grotesquely underestimated area. I remember specifically a couple of years ago, whenever I was watching, I think, the Gold Cup, and I saw Uganda and Madagascar were way more talented than I had ever expected them to be. I was hold up, time out, whoa. Are they good? Am I looking at this? Are they good? Because typically we only hear whenever it comes to coming out of Rugby Afrique, you get basically 3 countries: Kenya, Namibia, and then South Africa. Though South Africa is kind of just this isolated independent where everybody we're already assuming you're the best. We're not going to think anything of it. And then Namibia and Kenya end up being the ones that represent almost consistently. But then to find out you got Uganda, who is remarkably fast, a really long group of guys. And then you had obviously Madagascar. I know they didn't play in this one, but I talked to a guy at a trade show this last week, and from Madagascar, and he was like, "Yeah, Madagascar actually has rugby as a forefront opposed to soccer than most people realize, because I guess whenever the French came in, they brought the rugby along with them." And it matriculated a lot stronger in the country. But again, we don't hear about them because we don't see them on HSBC circuits. We don't really hear anything about international tournaments, and probably funding is a big component of that, which is always our backtracking issue. But the fact that we had these countries, and then let's not even take away Ivory Coast and Ghana and everybody else who's been part of this process. For you, entering into it, can you tell me what you were expecting before you started versus what it was once you started playing?
I mean, I honestly expected good players.
Yeah.
Africa. There's gonna be fast guys. There's gonna be strong guys. I know it's gonna be physical. I knew exactly what we're gonna expect. But then, the one thing I didn't expect is the way we played. I knew we were a good team, but I didn't think that we were that good.
Look, there's one thing that I've heard so consistently. London Nigerians. That team, I know it's kind of shifted a little bit by bit, but the London Nigerians are like a legendary grouping team that has been just doing damage in the club rugby scene in England for so long. But never had a chance to really watch them from an international standpoint because it wasn't there yet. When the moments came, it wasn't there yet. So, kind of to speak to what you guys were doing, please continue. I just want to.
So it was just like, wow. We play our first game. I think it was against Ghana was our first game.
Which was great. Man, when I tell you, I saw that score, I was like, yes, Lord. All right, we are not going to be subservient to these Ghanaians.
No, for real. I mean, they had a few guys that brought from overseas. They got maybe 3 or 4 guys, maybe 6 guys they brought in. But the way the boys stood up to that game, we knew that winning that game was going to determine how far we went in the tournament.
Yeah.
We beat Ghana convincingly because the try they scored, we gave it to them. But we beat them convincingly. Defense was strong. We just had flyers on the team. Like this dude we call Super Kalade.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man. Wheels for days. And then you have Declan on the other side. So these are 2 wings moving way too fast. Like fastest guys that I've really seen in a rugby pitch before. Colonels are fast, but
that was like that. Look, again, as you said, the country and its diaspora has so much talent. It is one of those aspects of rugby where we've constantly worked. You need to remember that you got to focus on the idea of the person and not so much leverage into like the concept of what is a rugby player that you take away from being able to spot talent that can maximize your game both on and off the field. Because even hearing those guys, they seem like genuinely good guys.
Great guys.
Like just genuinely good guys who are really, really talented, and watching them play, legitimately talented people. And you wouldn't see, and you ask, why aren't you playing for England? Like, why aren't you playing for RFU? How are you not playing for Wales or somebody like that? What's being missing? How are you not part of Premier 15s? Like, this is where it goes. Like, what is it that you are missing in this process that you are not taking advantage in? Now Nigeria has an opportunity to be able to maximize that level.
Yep. So just watching those guys just tear up. They were just, and then the kid we brought from Nigeria, Gabriel.
Yeah.
Hot stepper. It's like step people, like step brother stepper. Yeah, so like I'm like, and we had OGs like Onajato came in, brought his experience, scored a few tries. So like it was just talent everywhere. Lube, just everybody was just good, and we just worked with each other's like strength and like weaknesses. So we made sure that we were able to like, just because we didn't practice a lot,
right?
We were able to like just cement what we had and just made the best of it.
Which I love the best on that. I love that there was this pre-qualifier for that, because I think one of the worst things that would have happened is if you guys had to go to a qualifier like Zimbabwe first and just be like, all the pressure is for you to perform at this qualifier so that you can get to the Olympics. And it would have changed the way that you guys had time to gel. Of course, winning this was important because you need to get that top 2 seed to be able to move on automatically.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it gave you guys time to not only gel, but to be able to see who everybody is, especially considering the short amount of time to practice.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was great. And we played Congo, blew them out, played, I think, Botswana, blew them out, played Ivory Coast, was a tough game, but went good. We won that one also. And then Algeria was a team. They've been playing together since 2008. And also, they were like 9 of them were top 14.
Wait, for real? Oh, shoot. So, this was part of the thing I was wondering about. I was like, what the heck? What's going on with Algeria? I was like, yo. Wait, I don't think I've ever heard Algeria have a national team that was like powerful like this. Like, is Northern Africa like really balling like that? But it makes sense, again, that French component of it.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, to have that many guys being able to be in top 14
Top 14
is nuts.
It's crazy. I was just like, if one of the dudes that scored the try on us in the corner, I had Googled him. I was just like, he's like a baller in the top 14. Like,
so tell me, okay, so of the competitions, let's arguably say this might be one of the most experienced level of competition that you've had in terms of like young and impactful now, because MLR, it's a lot of guys who have played for a long time and they might be retired and moving into MLR, so they had experience and knowledge, but from a speed and skill standpoint,
best team I played on, hands down.
So what was it that stood out to what was it about them that stood out to you that seemed to make them so proficient?
Honestly, I feel like it was just the more of like, oh, you my brother. They were playing for the country.
Right.
That was all of it. It was just more about pride at the end of the day. And we did everything we had to do to represent the country well. Because if we came out to that tournament and had a bad outing, it would have just looked bad. Like we've been out for so long, and they give us a chance basically to come out and do this, and then we mess it up.
Right.
We had
but it doesn't even mess up because that's a really talented. That's an Algerian team that has been playing together for so long. So
yeah, I mean, we basically, I feel like we needed more time of training to play a team like Algeria.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're planning to do a longer training camp this time before the tournament, maybe like a week or a week and a half, get like 6 or 7 practices together.
Yeah.
I think we do that, we're going to shock a lot of teams in this tournament coming up. A lot of teams that you think is like a top team, top dogs. This Nigerian team got something like, it's something special going on right now, bro. Like, I just don't know how to just explain it. The vibes is great. There was no egos. There was no, it's just love, man. Love and understanding of why you were there. You're here to represent the country and people that want to do this. People that want to be in your shoes. Maybe 2 years, 3 years from now, they're going to be watching.
Right.
So what are you going to put on the board for the next generation? That's what we're just thinking about. I mean, it's a couple guys that I know, like, they're on the way out. Like, with me, I'm not going to be playing for so much longer.
Right.
It's some younger guys on the team. Guys are like 22, 21, 23.
Getting ready to trajectory going up. Yeah.
So it was just a good mix, and Stephen Lewis just made it a lot better. Good vibes.
Can you tell me a little bit about like Stephen Lewis's style? Because again, this is a man that has been really successful, and I'm going to say particularly within diaspora teams. And I think that's really important because, when it comes to dealing with culture diaspora, whether it's Caribbean diaspora, whether it's African diaspora, there's an entry into the culture that you have to be able to be willing to accept and be able to be open to as much as be able to implement yourself in. So for you, from your perspective, what was Stephen Lewis's style like, and why do you think it fit with you guys?
Honestly, he was just a good coach, and he cared about the players too. That's one. 2, he basically saw the team, just from experience, saw the team he was working with and made decisions. Basically, it was just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Everybody's going to start 3 games. Everybody started 3 games. Some people rested. Some people played more times, but everybody got game time. Nobody complained and said they didn't get enough game time. That's one. 2, he was very considerate about like people's beliefs and like the way they play. You know how like you might be a speed star, but they want you to play in the middle of the field.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. So he was the one to be like, okay, so you fast. You're gonna be our 2 wingers. We got 2 strong ball carriers. This is what you do. He came to me before the tournament. He was like, Fred, you know what I want you to do? I want you to be a menace. I want you to carry hard, and I want you to hit people. That's your job in this tournament. Offloads and passes, if it's there, do it. Well, that's not your job in this tournament. I want you to be a forward, a fearsome forward that all this other team is going to be talking about the whole weekend. And I guess he had that same conversation with everybody else too. So he knew exactly what he was coming to. I mean, he did say that we would beat Jamaica if we played against Jamaica.
It is on. Let's go.
He
Let's
did say that we
go.
would beat Jamaica if we played against him. So that made me feel good because Jamaica has been on the rise lately.
They've been on the rise. No, it's true story.
Yeah.
It's true story. Man, see, I love that. It's been and it will be eventually my personal dream to be able to put a diaspora Rugby World Cup into position where we can see these countries from the continent, from the Caribbean, from the US, from Brazil, and be able to see how we can all compete together, because I think that's part of the rise of not just the rugby, but the culture itself, and being able to see our different positionings and perceptions of the culture through this telescope of rugby. And then be able to show the world, okay, this is what it is. Not just all athletes that are just mindless athletes going, but thinking grown men and women really showing out and showing that this is an entertaining and impactful game simultaneously.
Yeah. I mean, the plan is to actually grow the sport in Nigeria, have it in secondary schools and primary schools.
Yeah.
So they start playing from young, because the guy, Gabriel, he's been playing for a long time. And you could tell that he could play rugby. There's just certain guys where, they come from a smaller country and everybody doubt them. But with him, he just fit right in. That was our missing key, because he didn't come to the England training camp.
Oh, wow. So the fact that he was able to fit in speaks of volumes again to the team, the coaching, and what you guys were already having, for him to just be okay, I can put my place and still be impactful.
Yep, he was the missing key. After the training, I was I just still felt like something was missing. When him and the owner Jato came in, there was the two people who were missing. We were just missing that one good playmaker. He's not scared to get hit and get the ball out while he's getting hit. So he gave 4 or 5 tries in that tournament. Scored maybe 2, but he was more like a playmaker. We had 2 or 3 of them. Matt Lube was a good one too. He gave me my try, so it was nice.
Yo, did you hear anything back on WhatsApp from family in Lagos and everything like that?
It was going crazy, man. It was nuts. My people, the Delta State, I've been doing interviews with TV stations, radio stations. Yeah, it's been great, man. I feel like it's something that I really needed to do in my career in sports. Represent the country and make the country proud, because now you're not playing for you no more. You're playing for 200 million people.
Yes. Look, man, there's something to say. Look, what is it? 6th most populous country in the world.
Yep.
That's a legitimate move. And that's in country. We're not even speaking about the people outside in the other diaspora areas, the US and England and Russia and Croatia and all the places that we're all over.
We're everywhere. We're everywhere, man. It's crazy. 3 Nigerians were in Mauritius, living in there with families and stuff.
Really?
Yes, man. Everywhere.
Bruh. I mean, see, and that's, like I said, Nigeria, it has never made sense why it hadn't been more key. I know, obviously, soccer love is soccer love, and that's, it's never going to be replaced. It's just obsessive in that point. Yeah. But it never made sense as to why it had not been able to develop stronger in something like rugby, where I think we're one of those few countries where the physicality matches to our personality from across the countryside. I think there's other countries where they're a little bit more passive. So, one, because they don't have the population. 2, just passivity. So it doesn't necessarily make sense for them to be more powered in this sport or not. But for us, come on, the number right there, and now you got the youth. Most of the country in Nigeria. So what is it? 60%, 70% of the country is under 40 years old.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem, man. We just keep this going. Qualify for the Olympics. That's gonna be what we need right there. We do that, we're gonna be ranked top 5 in the continent of Africa. And then we go from there. Because right now we're building. I feel like Nigeria, they had rugby back in the day, but not like this.
It's not the same. It's not as acute. It wasn't as you didn't have an ability to be able to connect with the people from across the way and really pull from all the sources, and let alone be able to develop in country itself. So now that you guys you've gotten past Mauritius, you've really gotten back the feel of at least qualifier international rugby too. Yeah. And before I go into that, there was conversations that you were thinking about maybe playing for the U.S. at one point after this whole Nigeria stuff had done. Was that true?
Yeah, because you remember that camp I went to with the USA? I think
Yes.
the USA South camp. I went down there. A bunch of the guys there play for the US now, so
Yeah.
it's like I was in the little pipeline
Right.
to do it. But then Nigeria has my heart, man. That's what I'll say. It has my heart. I mean, the US.
It's home.
I mean, the US is cool, but I mean, nobody really gonna support me like that if I play for them. Like, I'm not. I'm not from there. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Look, I think there's also the element where there is. You said it right. There's it's not just a bigger support, but it's a bigger impact in the results of what happens with you with Nigeria versus the results of what happened with the US. Because Nigeria we can set a new trajectory, whereas here we're continuing to bound forward, but there's so much happening, it can get diluted within the structure.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah.
And if you're able to we were able to pull the country out into that hemisphere, into that hemisphere of like top 20, top 15 rugby in the world, like that one actually can make a ripple effect. And if Nigeria affects culture, that affects international culture.
Everything. Everything. We affect everything. Nigeria, everywhere we affect everything. Look at music.
Right.
What everything. So I mean, I think we could easily do it. We just got to buy into the plan right now, or Stephen Lewis, and because right now we got 10 weeks to prepare. All the guys that went to Mauritius, 10 weeks to prepare. We probably gonna have some new faces fighting for spots, because it's not gonna be like what it was. We're gonna have like actual guys that place interest. Like, you'll be surprised. We have Aki Raymond.
Of course. I'm again a dude who needs to be presenting in this, because he's been sideswiped on so many levels. But if you get him on that edge, we know how fast that man is. Ridiculous.
We probably just need him to finish games for real. Like, he doesn't really got to do much. Like, we just need him to finish games. We got Aye. Yeah, him. He could be part of it too. Few guys came out before we left for Mauritius. A lot of guys been placing interest now. So, talking about big name guys, so it's looking great, because we could put this together, take a nice team of 14 down to Zimbabwe. I think we're gonna do great.
I agree. So from now until at least September, what is it that you feel you have to do to get yourself prepared going?
I'm gonna get stronger. That's one. I'm gonna get fit, real fit. I'm gonna get real fast, because I want to be the fastest big guy. I know they got the dude from Kenya. What's his name? The water buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta keep up with him. So that's just what it is.
Have you been able to? Have you found yourself trying to study a little bit more tape on like Kenya and Zimbabwe, because those two teams tend to be the tractor for sevens for Rugby Afrique. Like the buck stop. If you don't beat Zimbabwe and you don't beat Kenya, you don't continue on moving forward.
I mean, I already watched a lot of film on them. I've watched them in the series. Like Zimbabwe, I'm really not too pressed on them, just because there's Uganda and there's Madagascar.
Yeah.
And then Zambia.
Yeah, Zambia. Very true. Very true.
Those are like top teams. I mean, Zimbabwe is going to be good. Not taking that from them, but teams like South Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Zambia, Madagascar, those top 5 teams, and then Algeria. Yeah, that's another team that might be everybody. The way they were playing,
they're coming out hard like that again.
Yeah, they are. They're putting a lot of money into that. I could tell they put a lot of money into that team that came down. So they're probably gonna come even harder this time. So we gotta be ready and prepared for each and every one of them. So,
dude, I love it. Yo, Freddi, man, bro, it has been so great to be able to catch this all back up. Yo, tell people where they can find you as per usual.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at Fredogamo, Fredgamo. That's my Instagram handle. And also you can find me on, I don't really use Twitter much, but you can find me on Facebook. All you have to do is just search my name and it pops up.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome, bro. And last word of it, what word of wisdom that you want to be left for those looking to support Nigeria or for those needing to have an expectation of what to go forward on?
I would say follow your dreams, hold it really hard to your heart. Make sure you pray, keep God first, and also give back because that's most important. Everything you do, you're never gonna go with it. Like you go, it's just what it is. Death comes for everybody. So if you don't give back, then you just leaving that on the earth, you know. So that's most important.
Amen. Yo, Freddi, thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was nice talking to you.
You as well. Man, Freddi, I want to thank you so much for being on here. Dude, it was absolute pleasure. And y'all, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I know we're back. We got a new season. Fall's here. Summer for me because I'm in Brazil. But, you know, I'm excited for what we have coming through. And of course, if you haven't had a chance or this is your first time listening, definitely go check out the rest of our stuff. We got a nice little list of episodes to back up. Great information, great conversation, well worth it. And, you know, from some of the best and brightest that have been in rugby throughout the last decade. And of course, I hope you guys are always being able to keep front. But most importantly, I hope that you're happy. I hope that you're healthy. And I hope that you know that you are highly favored. Until next time, y'all. Cheers.